The operator of the Ranger mine is trying to persuade traditional owners and government regulators it'll be ready to restart operations by the end of the month. It follows a spill of more than 1 million litres of uranium and acid on the site in December. As Jane Bardon reports, warnings that it may not be able to afford to rehabilitate the site if it's not allowed to extend the mine underground has shaken traditional owners' confidence.
Magella Creek, which runs through the World Heritage-listed Kakadu National Park, looks pristine, but for 33 years there have been a series of uranium spills and leaks from the Ranger mine, 3 kilometres upstream. The mine is run by Energy Resources of Australia, a majority Rio Tinto-owned company. Its regulator, the Supervising Scientists Division of the Federal Environment Department, has catalogued the incidents. They included raised uranium levels in Magella Creek in 2002, workers drinking uranium process water in 2004, contaminated water escapes into Magella Creek in 2007 and 2008, and seepage on the north side of the tailings dam in 2009. Traditional owners have had to trust assurances from the company and the regulator that Ranger has not damaged the surrounding Kakadu Park. Traditional owners have been waiting for the outcome of independent investigations into a major spill in December of up to 14,000 litres of uranium and acid, which burst out of a faulty leach processing tank. The company concluded modifications to the tank so that it could process a different kind of ore, caused it to corrode and break. It initially said the liquid had not leaked through the site into the water table because it fell on tarmac. Then traditional owners released photographs showing the material had spilled outside a wall around the tanks onto grassy areas.
Certainly our initial feedback was it was contained on site, and it continues to have been contained within the processing plant area, and certainly no material left the Ranger project area.
Uranium processing was stopped after the spill. The company has now laid out its plan to try to convince government regulators, an investigating task force and traditional owners that it should be allowed to start processing uranium again by the end of April.
Which includes repairing some of the infrastructure that was damaged during the initial leach tank incident, but also doing any reparation work and inspection and non-destructive testing of other pieces of equipment within the processing plant.
We have doubts as to the whole mill, the whole facility. We would like to see this, the task force examination look at all aspects of the milling operation.
It's a bit hard to preempt what the results of that investigation will say, but certainly we're not going to approve the reopening of Ranger's operations unless we're completely satisfied that they can meet all of the safety criteria that are set down in those reports.
The regulators and stakeholders met in Darwin to get the latest on the results on environmental testing. The Supervising Scientists Division says so far it hasn't found any evidence the December spill has damaged Kakadu.
The Supervising Scientist is conducting an independent investigation. Samples analysed to date, including continuous monitoring of surface water downstream of the mine in Magella Creek, have shown no evidence of any impact from the spill. Geoscience Australia has been commissioned to conduct an investigation into possible impacts to groundwater.
But Northern Territory government reports detailed elevated uranium and magnesium in the Gulungal Creek, which flows into Magella Creek. It's not a new problem.
There's been spikes of electrical conductivity, heavy metal spikes, including uranium, detected from monitoring bores, both groundwater and surface monitoring bores. This incident actually sparked a 2003 Senate inquiry calling for greater monitoring systems to be implemented.
The company initially told the ABC the spike was salinity, but now says the uranium levels are below drinking water criteria.
We've seen some elevation with regards to the EC, and we've been working through with the Office of, I believe, with the Office of Supervising Scientists, and doing an internal investigation with what might be the cause of that. None
of these issues that have been raised in terms of creeks have caused any great alarm, but we do constantly monitor this.
The mining company has been allowed to build a tunnel to investigate whether it's financially viable to expand the mine underground in a project called Three Deeps. It's applied to the Federal and Northern Territory governments to start the Three Deeps project next year. The Commonwealth had halted its assessment process until the spill investigation concluded. It now says,
"The independent review is ongoing and will take as long as is necessary to ensure it considers all relevant issues. Prior to that process being completed, it would be inappropriate to comment further."
There's no group more affected by this operation or as hurt deeply by it as the Mirarr people.
At a public meeting, the traditional owners group made it clear underground mining should not start without their consent.
There needs to be a different understanding of how the extractive industry is operating out there, if they're to have any future at all.
But legally, traditional owners can't veto or approve more mining until the current mining lease expires in 2021. Under the current lease, after 2021, the company must rehabilitate the site for incorporation into Kakadu.
We need them to come to the table and convince us they have the wit and the money to move forward with mining, or else it just won't happen.
At its annual general meeting this week, the company briefed its shareholders about its $138 million losses last year. It also detailed a study into whether the Three Deeps mine would be financially viable if the company can't mine beyond 2021.
We're still doing exploration drilling, so it's really too early to provide comment with regards to the potential for a range of Three Deeps.
The company's annual report questions whether it will have enough money to rehabilitate the Ranger site as required without the Three Deeps project.
Seems like some sort of sloppy threat. But the other thing, what is that? How can that be considered responsible mining in this day and age when you're operating in a World Heritage Area, Australia's biggest national park?
As it indicates in the report, it is a risk. But certainly, the business, as a lot of other businesses, consider its strategy on a regular basis and look at what those options are. At the moment, we're focused on the Ranger Three Deeps pre-feasibility study and exploration decline.
If the Three Deeps wasn't allowed to go ahead, where would you expect to get more money to help with the rehabilitation? I mean, would you be looking to federal government agencies or territory government agencies to help fund that?
Certainly that's something that the business would need to consider, but at this point, based on our current business strategy, we can meet all of our obligations.
The traditional owners were quite worried about that line in the report, and they were feeling that it's almost couched as a threatening thing because it's almost, they're feeling it's holding them over a barrel. Could it be seen as a threat?
No, it really is just being transparent with regards to what some of the risks are within the business.
So the challenge for Rio and for Kakadu's dozy regulators will be to ensure that the proper rehab of the Ranger project area happens.
Green groups are calling on the two governments not to consider the project any further.
We are very concerned that there will be a radioactive legacy, a weeping, running radioactive soil in Australia's largest national park, and we have no confidence in either the company's capacity or its commitment to doing this rehabilitation.
Energy Resources of Australia hasn't even started to consult traditional owners about the possibility of continuing to mine here after its current agreement expires in 2021. To get permission, it would have to convince traditional owners that it's been upfront about the environmental impact, both of the leach tank spill and any future operation. But at the moment, May Nangu and her husband Mark Janjamir are only looking forward to the rehabilitation of the mine site so they can use it for fishing and hunting again. The royalty payments that could come from more mining are not their primary concern.
What are all the good things about having the mine here?
But May Nangu is willing to consider any new approach from the company.